Hey guys, what's up? Lena here, aka Chief Overy Officer. And I wanted to record a quick video talking about the 5 mistakes that I see a lot of male creative strategists make when they're selling to women. So let's get into it. Okay, the core problem before I get into the mistakes is that a lot of times, this is especially for dudes that are selling to women, they think that good copy works for everyone, right? So they think that they can just rip an ad that's doing well and an account that's selling to men and then just take it and rip it word for word or exactly the same for women. So this assumption is killing your female conversion. So starting off, I just want you to think about that for a second because most frameworks were built for men, tested on men, optimized for men. And the way men buy is very fast, linear, and outcome focused. And that's not how women buy. So I just want to preface by saying that first and foremost. Now let's get into the mistake. So mistake number one is agitating pain the wrong way. A lot of times we were told to talk about the problem, agitate it, twist the knife, and all those things. But there's a difference between pain point and threat response. So, for example, pain point is what will help open her up. So, externalizing the blame. So, talking about, are you tired of waking up exhausted? Now, if you look at how this is worded versus, are you tired of being a failure every morning or feeling like a failure every morning? You can already tell one is selling to men versus women. Because for men, it works when you make them feel like shit. So are you tired of being a failure every morning? Other dudes having with the women of their dreams and spending all the money that they can, doing whatever the fuck that they want to do, and traveling the world and having fuck you money basically. And so the reason why you don't have this is because you feel like a failure every morning because you're a piece of shit who doesn't do X, Y, and Z. That's why you're broke, you're fat, you're lazy, and blah blah blah. And that's why you're not being the man that you can be, and stuff like that. So it's very threat response. Whereas pain point is just you're externalizing the blame. So you're saying like, are you tired of waking up exhausted? So you see how you're not saying that they're the problem or they're the issue. One opens them up and one closes her. So something to keep in mind as well is that if you remember how it was before, it's a lot different now. Times are a lot different now, I would say, but before, and don't get me wrong, women still live this way or they still have that internalizing self loop as well. But before it was a lot harsher as well. So women already live in a self loop criticism, comparison, guilt, and overthinking. That's why men will never really understand how a woman feels. You can to a certain extent, but you'll never really truly understand the standards that society has on women and the impact of that. And because of that's why we're always living in a loop, self loop, right? Loop of criticism, right? Self criticism, comparison, guilt, overthinking. So what do you think would happen when your copy piles onto that? It's not going to convert her. She just shuts down and leaves. Because why would I want to buy from a brand that makes me feel like shit when I'm already living like shit? And every time I tell all my male clients this or the male founders this, they're like, "Oh shit, yeah, I never thought about that." Because men are so used to being sold to in a way that positions the potential life that he could have, right? Because if you make them feel like shit, they would actually, oops, they would actually sprint to its action, but it's not the same for women. So that's the first mistake. The other mistake is that thinking that urgency triggers a purchase instead of repelling them. So what I mean by this is that urgency and scarcity works on men, and it actually triggers a response where they would actually buy faster. So for example, on men, the countdown timer, the scarcity and all these things and urgency, it actually speeds them up and it actually evokes a sense of competitive instinct in them to want to act faster. So they're like thinking, I need to get this before it's gone. Whereas on women, all these things actually slow her down because it actually enhances or it triggers her threat response. So they're not thinking like, them, I need to get this, I need to act fast, blah, blah, blah. They're thinking, they're feeling like, okay, why are they pressuring me? What are they trying to hide? If their product is so good, then like, why is there only four left? And let's be real, that countdown timer fake scarcity thing, we all know that same offer is going to be there a month from now. Now, I'm not saying urgency and scarcity doesn't work on women. There's a way to go about that, and that's very nuanced as well. So you can't use the same tactics on the opposite on different genders and then expect the same thing to work because for women, that works only after you've built the trust, not before. So that's the second mistake that I see. That urgency triggers conversion instead of threat response. But in reality, urgency and scarcity and all these things actually trigger a women's threat response and actually make them convert a lot faster. It actually holds them back. Now, mistake number three is proof stacks that impress instead of relate. Now, a lot of times for men, I made 100K in 90 days. That triggers a sense of potential where they can see, oh, okay, that could be me. And I want to be that guy who makes 100K, right? Whereas for women, is that's not me. They don't get my situation. So when I talk about social proof or when I mention the importance of social proof, a lot of times this goes over people's head because they just put a shit ton of social proof there, but none of it actually relates to the women that they're selling to. Because she's not looking for what's possible for someone. She's looking for someone. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? She's looking for what's possible for someone like her. So that's the importance of having an actual relatable social proof stack, right? So they're looking for stuff that is relatable to her in terms of her constraints, her starting point, her doubts, her exact situation. So the social proof that you use when you're selling to women needs to be able to relate to her. It needs to be relatable, not impressive. For men, the more impressive your social proof is, the better it will work. For women, it's the opposite. It doesn't have to be like some grandiose thing. It just has to be something that's relatable to a woman like her, exactly like her in her situation and her starting point. Now, mistake number four is not understanding the circular buying path. Now, this is the foundation of what I teach inside my female marketing Bible. And this is the thing that I drive over and over again because this is so important. This is the fundamental of understanding the difference of how men and women buy. So, if you understand that, if you look at my content, if you look what I talk about, this is also the reason why I teach this. I spend the most time teaching this in the female marketing Bible because once you understand this, everything else becomes a lot easier to digest. So when you understand that men buy in a linear way, but women buy in a circular way, you'll understand everything else. So the way men buy is that they see an ad, they click, they read, they buy, and they're done. It's super logical, right? Whereas for women, they're not as oops, sorry they're not buying logically. They buy with emotion first and then justify with logic. And so they buy more circularly. So they see an ad, they click, they read, they leave, they come back tomorrow, they read again, they check the reviews, screenshot it, send it to a friend, wait for their opinion to see if your product or your company is sus or not, probably come back a week or earlier, and then they finally buy. So there's a misconception that women are indecisive just because they buy this way, but that's not the case at all. That's just her buying process. Now, a lot of the mistakes that I see when I do audits for brands is that their funnels are built for the first time visit or built on how men buy. And then that's the issue. They're not considering the way that women buy at all. And that's also something that I see and a mistake that I see a lot of creative strategists make if they because most of the time you either have some brands selling to men, you and then you have some brands selling to women, but you're applying the same frameworks to both of them, or you're thinking that they buy the same way when they don't. And then so for mistake number five, skipping the permission gate. Now this is super important because women don't buy the same way that men do because for them, they're thinking about whether there's two gates that they have, right? The way I look at it is that one is I want this, and then the other is I'm buying this. So there's a nuance to that because women are conditioned to put everyone else first. So even when they want something, there's a voice at the back of their head thinking, do I really need this? Do I deserve this? And so that's the permission gate. And most copy does nothing, or most creative does nothing to help her open it, right? They're not building permission. Their ad creatives or their copy, they're not giving them the permission to want this, to say, you know what, you deserve this. It's okay to invest in yourself. You waited long enough. They're not giving women the permission to want the product. And so those are the five most common mistakes that I see creative strategists make when they're selling to women. So just to recap, the five mistakes that I see creative strategists make is agitating pain the wrong way, thinking that urgency and scarcity apply to men the same way that it does to women, thinking that women and men respond the same way to the same social proof, not understanding how men buy and how women buy, and that men buy in a more linear path versus women who buy in more circular path, and then skipping the permission gate. So the most common threat is that these frameworks, or the same frameworks that creative strategists use to sell to men, is the same one that they use to women, because they don't understand that there's nuances and there's differences in when you're selling to men versus women. Now, if you want to dive deeper into the frameworks that I spoke about or that I mentioned, I'm actually hosting a workshop in my good friend Nabil's community. And I'll be talking about the 8 stage female buying path, the 6 emotional blockers, and the 7 female proof copy types that will help you, whether you are doing CRO, creative strategy, or copywriting for a client. You can either DM me over to join, or you can click the link in my bio to sign up. It's from the 1st of July to the 3rd of July. So that's all for today. See you guys.